What if your birthday became a death sentence? In Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, a mysterious force causes a giant number to appear in the sky every year, and when that number matches your age, you vanish. Beautiful, haunting, and cruel, this event is known as the Gamage. Now, with the number at 33, the world is running out of time. This is the story of the final expedition sent to end this cycle. It's poetic, tragic, and deeply human. And yes, we're going into full spoiler territory here. But before we get started, special thank you to Aaron for joining me in this video and for helping me out with the script. So please do check out his channel as well. But with that said, let the expedition begin.
Expeditioners. The Sword of Lumiere. We honor your dedication. We do not take for granted that you dedicate your final year of life to keeping hope alive for all of Lumiere. Some of you are leaving to change the world, others to discover the secrets of our universe. Some to protect loved ones, others to find meaning in our all-too-short lives. As you sail into the unknown, know that Lumiere stands with you. When you battle the Paintress, know that Lumiere fights with you. Let the stones of her monolith crumble. Let her body lie at the end of the world. Unable to paint another death, let the stars no longer be hidden by her oppressive silhouette. Let the world once again watch the sun rise without the shadow of her cursed figure. May the wind of renewal take you to the ends of the earth. Tomorrow comes. Thanks to you. Expedition 33.
The game is set in Lumiere, a French-inspired city wrapped in surreal melancholy. Life here revolves around the Gamage, the yearly disappearance of everyone whose age matches the number in the sky. When that number is drawn by the Paintress, those people turn to rose petals and chroma and vanish. Society has learned to live with this curse, but as the number nears 33, desperation builds. Expedition 33, made up of the best and brightest under the age of 33, is sent to end the cycle, or die trying.
Each member of Expedition 33 carries grief and purpose. Gustav, a 32-year-old engineer, reluctant but loyal. Maëlle, his foster sister, plagued by dreams and visions. Lune, a scholar grounded in logic and pigment study. Ciel, a hardened rural fighter with no patience for fantasy. Verso, a quiet, cryptic man with uncanny insight. Monoko, a shape-shifting gestural who adds levity and empathy. Noko, a young gestural merchant that has become friends with Maëlle during the time when she is lost. And Eske, a mythical beast who helps with traversal and morale. Together, they represent a final spark of hope. The team boards a boat, leaving their isolated island city. At the dock, a gray-haired man appears, and suddenly, everything goes wrong. He attacks, effortlessly killing most of the expedition. It's a brutal, shocking moment that redefines the tone of the journey. In the aftermath, Gustav and Lune survive. Gustav nearly gives up, but Lune talks him down, reminding him of Maëlle and the mission. Soon after, they find a cryptic message near their planned rally point. Mael may still be alive. They follow the lead to a decaying manor, where a strange figure, known as the Curator, has her. They rescue Mael, but everything feels off.
A gestural guide tells them to seek a village hidden deep in the pigmented, corrupted wilds. After reaching it, they meet Golgra, the chef of the Gestrals. She says to earn her trust, the party must compete in the arena and defeat the stranger. The party has no choice but to agree and put their names in. When the party defeats the Gestrals in the arena and makes it to the stranger, they're stunned to see that it's an expedition member named Ciel. After reuniting with Ciel, the now party of 4 returns to Golgra, who then tells them to seek out the mythical creature Eskie, an eccentric but powerful ally. Eskie informs the party that he needs his pet rock found in order to carry them. After traversing the stone wave cliffs and fighting some pretty impressive monsters, they find the stone. Gustav throws one last rock into the ocean before jumping on Eskie to continue, but this move turns out to be a grave mistake. Renoir appears, confronting Mael and Gustav, who are hopelessly outmatched. Gustav makes a desperate last stand, while Mael is captured in an energy field, but ultimately, it's not enough. Gustav is sadly killed, and Renoir is about to do the same to Mael, but suddenly, Mael is saved by a mysterious stranger who intervenes and stops Renoir. There is recognition between them, but nothing is revealed yet. The mysterious stranger joins the party aboard Eskie, and they return to camp. The stranger's name is Verso, and that's all he shares for now. Verso knows Eskie, and it's clear he's been in this world for a while, but to enlist more help, Verso suggests they travel to Monoko Station, and upon arriving they meet a Gestral named Monoko, who has an unusual talent. He can transform into Nevrons by stealing the feet of his defeated enemies.
It turns out there is a chroma barrier protecting the Paintress that needs to be dispelled. They first try to strike at what Verso calls the heart of her power. It is the manor where Mael was held. When she goes to open the door, Renoir is there. He fights the party and is defeated, but not killed. As a last act of defiance before he leaves, he sends a huge wave of chroma in a massive blast. The party was able to block this blast. Mostly. Everyone was able to block it, except Noko. As the group mourns Noko back at camp, they begin to despair as to how they are going to defeat the Paintress. The group finds out that the Curator can create a weapon that can pierce the barrier. But the amount of chroma needed is immense. The party would have to defeat the powerful beings known as the Axons, which Verso describes as next to impossible to kill. The group is energized to go forward and attempt it anyway, because they have nothing more to lose. These Axons are known as Cyrene and the Visages. Once the Axons are defeated, they have enough chroma to bring to the Curator, who crafts a special weapon for Mael that can destroy the barrier and finally get to the Paintress. The group presses forward and finally confronts Aline, the Paintress. She's not angry, she's exhausted. In a surreal final battle, she summons impossible creatures that tear reality apart. They defeat her, return to Lumiere, and begin to celebrate, mourning Gustav, honoring their mission, and then the Gamage resumes. Everyone begins to vanish, regardless of age. Everyone, except Mael and Verso.
Alicia, the real-world counterpart of Mael, awakens within the canvas. She uses her newly rediscovered powers to bring back Ciel and Lune and explain the truth. She was a survivor of the fire. Her family could create worlds with paint. Verso, her brother, died in that fire, but he had created a world using his family's gift, the canvas. Renoir and Aline, Alicia's parents, have been battling each other in this mental landscape ever since. Their minds at war over how to best deal with the grief of Verso's passing. This is what causes the fracture, the event that severed Lumiere from the continent. After the final battle with Renoir, the player faces a devastating choice: side with Miel and preserve the canvas, keeping Verso's memory alive, or side with Verso and destroy it, letting his soul rest and freeing the world from illusion. Neither choice is easy, but both are equally heartbreaking.
This isn't a typical game with clear-cut heroes and villains. Expedition 33 chooses emotional weight over fantasy tropes. It's a game built around grief, memory, and the painful art of letting go. The player's final decision, whether to sustain the canvas or destroy it, forces the players to reflect. Would you hold on to a world built from love and loss, or would you choose reality, no matter how much it hurts? The game's enemies aren't just monsters. They're shaped by sorrow, trauma, and internal fears. The canvas itself is a physical manifestation of mourning, a beautiful, broken space created by those who couldn't accept loss. Even combat feels symbolic, as if you're battling the emotions no one wants to confront. This story doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it gives players space to consider their own emotional journeys. It doesn't ask you to defeat grief, it asks you to understand it.
Alicia's transformation is the heart of the story. She begins as Maëlle, a character unaware of her true nature, driven by vague dreams and fractured memories. But as the narrative unfolds, her identity reshapes. The moment she realizes she is Alicia, and that she has the power to reshape the world or end it, is the turning point of self-awareness and agency. Verso evolves from a cryptic companion to the emotional soul of the story. He's a relic of a lost family, a child whose last spark of life created a dream world that others inhabit. He's not just a guide, he's grief made manifest. His quiet presence becomes more powerful with every step. Lune's arc is one of intellectual awakening. Once cold and cynical, she learns to accept things she can't explain, leaning into empathy and emotional intelligence. Ciel, hardened by the life of survival, finally allows herself to open up and connect again. Minoko, who begins as levity and oddity, ends up grounding the group with deep empathy, especially after the loss of his son, Noko. Even Renoir and Oline, framed early as antagonists, are ultimately revealed as grieving parents. They're not evil, they're broken. They're forever stuck in the moment their world burned down.
In the end, it's not just about what Alicia does. It's about what you, the player, take away from her story. If you choose to preserve the canvas, she becomes the new Paintress. The world continues, beautiful and stable, but false. It's a dream held together by love and sacrifice. A world where Verso's soul lives on. If you choose to destroy the canvas, the illusion shatters. Verso finds peace. Alicia wakes up. But the world she returns to is quiet, painful, and real. There's no triumphant fanfare, just the slow, meaningful weight of healing. What makes Expedition 33 stand out isn't its plot twist or mechanics. It's the emotional honesty. It reminds us that life doesn't always offer closure. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is move forward without one.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33 isn't just a story. It's a canvas painted with emotion, pain, and meaning. It doesn't rely on flashy gimmicks or epic battles to win you over. It sits with you. It lingers. The way it handles themes like grief, family, and identity are rare in games. It's not about escapism. It's about facing the things we usually run from. But even knowing how it ends, it's worth experiencing firsthand, because the beauty of Expedition 33 isn't in its surprises. It's in the way it makes you reflect on your own losses, your own choices, and your own sense of what's real. But thank you guys so much for walking through this story with us. And until next time, remember, not every story ends neatly. Some just leave a mark. And sometimes, that's more than enough. But as always, everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video. And please do like and subscribe and hit that bell to stay notified. But much love, and peace out.